Hi everyone, thank you very much for stopping by and returning to the old world. And welcome to part one proper of this mini-series looking at a tale of many gamers. Earlier this week I caught up with a number of the participants in this particular project as we talked about our initial thoughts around all things Warhammer Old World and the release, what our thoughts on the books are now that we've had a chance to consider what we want to collect and how we're going to go about that as we build towards the event in June. So without further ado, let's turn over to that very same conversation. Thank you very much for joining me this evening for the first of our updates on Tale of Many Gamers. I'll start with the bad news. Unfortunately, Brendan has had to drop out. Real world requirements and job stuff means he's not able to have enough time really to commit to this, so we are down our Wood Elf player, and I suspect, although we've had a couple of other people express an interest, this is probably going to be the core group taking it forward. So just to sort of reiterate the project, this is very much in the classic Tale of Four Gamers style. So the idea is we're building some forces up month by month towards a particular endpoint, and the endpoint we've got in question is Luke's tournament on the 29th of June, I believe, for incursion events, which is going to be a 2,000 point Warhammer Old World army. So the original idea for this call was it's a week post launch, pretty much to the day. By now we should all have received our nice shiny books, have been able to take a bit of time to consider them, think about how they apply to the armies we want to collect, and be starting to formulate some plans for that. I know, however, that launch didn't quite go to plan, so not everyone's in that particular shape, and he's kind of having to make the best of it at the moment. So perhaps we'll touch on that as we go through, but before we launch into anything further, now's a great time, I think, just to introduce the people taking part in this project, and thank you all for giving your time up for this. I'll just go around my screen and give everyone a chance to say who they are and do shout outs for anything they want to give a shout out for, really. So Rob, if we start with you.
Hey, so no shout outs from me, although I know I will be on a few of the streams going forward, so hopefully I'll see you there. I'm going to be the dwarf player, I guess, for this event.
Which is fitting because you look really smart. I was going to say.
I'm just hiding.
Stood up.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thanks, Rob. Luke, so I'll just carry on round. So over to you. And you are incursion events, I believe.
That is true. For my sins, yes. So the tournament you mentioned is the one I'm running in June in Lancing, down in the south of England. If anyone is local and interested in possibly even their first Old World tournament, it's going to be my first Old World tournament. I hope to be able to play in it. Often I find myself saying I don't want to play in the events because it's a lot to do and play at the same time. But I'm so excited to play Return to the Old World that I wouldn't mind actually playing. But if there's an odd number of people, then I'll obviously I'll step in to make it even. But if there's an even number of people, I'll have to just sit there and watch everyone else having fun, and I won't get to join in. But that's fine. That's the price I pay for hosting the events, and I accept that. But yeah, it's going to be awesome, and I'm going to be, hopefully, if I am playing, building, taking part in this really cool thing, which reminds me of the White Dwarf articles that used to be back in the day. So I couldn't help but say yes to this. I'll be bringing along Tomb Kings, so I've got some stuff for that, which you said we'll get into it a bit. But yeah, Tomb Kings is what I'll be bringing in, and yeah, incursion events on Facebook and YouTube if you're interested in finding out any more about what I do.
Fantastic, and I will put a link to your YouTube down in the description when this gets around to going up on the YouTubes, technology permitting. Last but not least, we've got Tim and Paul. You're in the same place, so if you want to just sort it out between yourselves.
Yes. All right, hello, I'm Tim. I haven't played Fantasy in 20 years. I'm very excited that it's back. I don't have anything to shout out. So I'm shout out Papa Nurgle. Yeah, I'm Collective Warriors of Chaos. For fluff, and modelling purposes, I'm going full Nurgle, but obviously in a tournament I would use my marks more carefully. But today I'm all Nurgle.
Excellent.
I am Paul. I'm also from the YouTube channel Epic Flail, where we're doing some old world content and a bunch of 40k stuff. So I'm sure Michael will be as kind to put it in the description. Check it out.
Absolutely.
Really appreciate you having us on, mate. It's a great idea. Really cool. I, like Luke, remember the White Dwarfs when this would be a thing in White Dwarf when I was much younger. So it's cool. It's good to be part of it. I am playing Bretonians. I'm kind of looking at them. So me and Tim are in the middle of a game, which is there's a lot of stuff over the left side of the battlefield that I'm like, I think it might have been a bad idea to charge a Chaos Lord. But anyway,
Oh, no.
they'll do a bit of work, they'll be fine. I'm playing Bretonians. I've already started painting the bits of them up and looking forward to getting some more games in. It's fun.
Fantastic. So if we move on to perhaps our experiences of launch and initial plans for how we're going to collect our forces, what we're thinking of doing, taking, that kind of thing. I'll go around in the same order just to keep it nice and straightforward. Rob, back over to you.
So, launch for me, obviously, being a player whose army is not out, I think is a little bit different from some of the other people's views. I had the pleasure of going up to Warhammer World with Paul on the day. It was really good fun. Even there was a queue, actually, surprisingly less than I thought. There's going to be a review on his channel. That was great fun. I found out that the Orcs and Goblins were going to be the next army, which I think hurt a little bit because we'd all seen the Dwarf dice. And I was like, come on, yes, let's do this.
And I was in the car going, oh, it's definitely Dwarf.
Yeah. Yeah.
Brilliant.
He's like picking me up like,
Dwarfs. He was like, yeah,
let's do this.
Like, oh.
I have been fortunate through Paul to have been put in touch with the old 3D printer person, and I actually have.
Don't link me to 3D printer.
It's a friend of a friend, Paul. How's that?
Yeah. Friend of a friend of a friend.
Yeah, just get it. I've been fortunate enough to be put in touch with a friend of a friend. I have like 1,500 points of dwarves 3D printed in front of me. I don't think it's particularly the best competitive. I need a bolt thrower and some other things. But I've always been a fan of the old Ironbreakers. Back in the day when I used to play like 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th edition, they were my favourite unit. So I'm going to try and do the Ironbreaker detachment thing with some Iron Drakes. I don't know if I can fit 2 units in there, but that's where I'm going for. And I am coming up with a new paint scheme. I've gone for like a baby blue, silver and brass gold, so it should be interesting. I'll try and get some pics to you. I think there might be, I need a proper camera. There's some dodgy pictures in the Discord that you could potentially pull for that.
Yeah, we'll
yeah, that's
about
me.
Photos when we do the next month's update, because by then we should have hopefully something to show. I'm just mindful that going around the introductions, I didn't talk about what I'm doing or anything like that. So yeah, I'm taking Empire for this particular project, and as I've started talking, I might as well carry on. So yeah, like Rob, I'm in the same sort of boat that I've not got an army that's one of the supported core factions at the moment, and who knows when Empire are going to come out. I also got stung a little bit in the joy that was the release weekend, in that none of my books have turned up as of yet, and I'm still waiting for an update because I went through a third party. Fortunately, I played a game against Paul a couple of days ago, which was really informative, so helpful to be able to have a flick through his rule book at the time to give me a bit of an understanding of what on earth is going on. And actually, that really changed my view, I found, of Warhammer The Old World. I've not played Warhammer for nearly 9 years, and I think although I played 6th, 7th and 8th was the one I played most games of. So whilst I knew that Old World would be different, I don't think in my brain I'd fully rationalised exactly how different it is and how the lethality is so different. And you've not just got buckets of models being scooped off the table in one go. So that's very much changed my opinion. I think it's not changed my army list that I'm building towards that much, but I think it's shifted it subtly to a slightly different dynamic. So that'll be interesting. So yeah, like Rob said, the models I want aren't available through Games Workshop, which means either I need to go onto the secondary market and spend an absolute fortune trying to find old models, which doesn't help anybody. So what I've done is, rather than go down the 3D print route, is I've bought a load of halflings. So I've got a mixture of Mantic and I've got some Wargames Atlantic figures on order at the moment. So they're going to form the core line units, and then I'm using a mixture of old GW figures I had from back in the day, and I'm looking at using some Fireforge miniatures to represent the human element of my Empire army, which is going to be the more of the elite stuff, the knights, the artillery, that sort of thing. So yeah, it'd be interesting. I'm hoping the units create themselves some nice little stories as we go through as well, to get a nice little fluff angle. So I'm big into this sort of the narrative side of it, but we'll have to see what happens. Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting it on the table as well, because I think I'm going to need quite a few reps before I try and take it to an event. Otherwise, I'll just get slaughtered.
You get a load of models in the Atlantic box sets, don't you? If I remember rightly, from what I've seen online, they're like huge, like box sets they do. Is that the retailer?
So Wargames Atlantic Halfling Militia gives me 40 figures, and it's costing me just over 20 quid for a new box. So value wise, and my idea is that some of them are going to be state troopers, some of them I'm going to use as characters, so with a bit of kit bashing.
Nice.
I'll get some archers out of the same box as well, so it will give me quite a few options for what I want to do going forward. Luke, then, how was your release?
It was interesting. I had foolishly invited the in-laws down whilst my wife was away, as a way of them sort of seeing the kids for a little bit, and I didn't realise it was on the day of the release. So I was essentially tied up sort of with family throughout it, but I did manage to sneak away a little bit to rush off to Dice Saloon, local store, to collect my stuff, and I'd sort of called it a couple of days ahead. So I'm quite friendly with one of the people who sort of runs it, and just asked the question, have you actually got it in? Because I don't want to go in and then it not be there. There's no issues if it wasn't there, but they had it, so I went in there and got everything, and I bought. I think I've seen the chaos that's ensued, and I was just almost like watching from the sidelines of just like that popcorn meme of just watching people just up in arms at the nonsense. I mean, I don't even think I need to really go into it. I think everyone's kind of seen what it's been like, and Dice Saloon just kind of pulled through. So it's a bit of a shout out to them, really, because I have to say, through all of recent memory, they have just got the stuff in and not had any issues. Touch wood, which is really, really fortunate. And I think it is just a bit lucky. I think people, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like they're just kind of throwing stuff at a dartboard with their decision making at GW, but I also feel like with the release, it genuinely feels like there was a massive element of luck. I just think, for whatever reason, logistically, they're not there. They're not where they should be, which is really weird for such a big company. Maybe I've heard stories about like factories or whatever. Anyway, kind of a tangent, but it was fairly calm, my release, because I was doing that. One thing I did manage to do was I went out to Worthing with the fam, and on the way back we were going to the car, and I said, "Oh, look, I just want to pop into the Warhammer store."
Don't go in there. Don't.
Well, no,
Someone else in there. Honestly, the guy.
Because it was the release day, I thought, as an actual official GW store, they've got stuff in. It was late in the afternoon. I thought, I'm just going to pop in because they'll be full of the festivities. And I sort of put my head around the door, and it looked like they were shut. And I sort of pushed the door. It was open. I was like, oh, so there's but I had a busy day. He was like, yeah, this is the first time I've had to sort of sit down. So I was, then I was a bit like, oh, shall I go then, sort of thing. He was like, oh no, it was hectic before. I was like, is there no sort of event? He goes, no. He was just sat there like having a breather, maybe potting around with some figures and stuff. And I was expecting, I don't know, some sort of pomp or ceremony or something. But I just sort of went, oh, all right. And I just thought there might be something to kind of enjoy. He goes, yeah, I still got a Bretonian box on the shelf. And I was like, what? I thought they were like hen's teeth. What? He was like, yeah. I almost bought it just on impulse because I was like, oh, you can't get these. And I was like,
that was his plan.
On eBay.
Yeah.
300 quid.
But yeah, it was good. I got the big takeaway is I got my stuff. I was one of the lucky ones, and I have assembled a few bits and pieces, which we'll get into in a bit. But yeah, I did it. It did all right.
Just out of interest, I'm not really aware of stores doing big things for releases since they really went to like the 1-man, 2-man bands that they are now. I mean, years ago when I played, it was there was a release of a new edition of a major game, and they did all sorts of stuff. They had the staff in cosplay and all sorts in Leicester and stores like that. Yeah. But I mean, do they even do stuff like that anymore generally?
No. I think there was this childish, impulsive part of me that remembered that sort of thing and was like, ooh, I wonder if it's happening. The Brighton store back in the day, I remember it because it was their store birthday, I think, is around my own birthday. And they did a bunch of things where they had like birthday cakes, did like celebrations and things. And what they then did was like, if you bought stuff throughout the day, throughout the week building up to the birthday, you earned like tickets, which you could then use in an auction to get rid of like a bunch of like clearance stuff or whatever. And I remember walking out with like a stack of Black Library books because I just like auction like they just did loads of really cool stuff, but yeah, like nothing like that unfortunately anymore. I guess it just takes a bit too much in terms of manpower, and that's not really their business model anymore. I think things have moved on since then for them.
Yeah, it's a very different approach to selling stuff.
Yeah,
slightly more child friendly, shall we say, approach they used to take in years gone by, but
yeah,
is what it is, I suppose. Tim, over to you, I guess. Don't know why I'm looking over there. That's not where the camera is, or where you're sat.
Yeah, I ordered the 3 books from Waylaid Games. I haven't got them, but it doesn't matter because
Waylaid Games.
Waylaid Games, yeah. I've got Discord. It doesn't matter because I found the PDFs from a legitimate source on the internet. PDFs.
These don't associate me. They do a lot.
So you bought them from Games Workshop then, yeah? The EPUBs.
Yeah, it was Games Workshop. So I've been able to read the rules for playing games. My first game, read the Chaos book. Hasn't really changed how I'm thinking about my army because the Chaos models aren't out. So what I've done so far is I've just bought Slaves to Darkness, Age of Sigmar, start collecting, a Nurgle, start collecting, and then I'm just kit bashing and proxying my way to a Chaos army. So like, I'm running like Plague Bearers as Chaos Marauders, for example, because it's Nurgle, they can be demons, whatever, and I'll just make it work, and I'll figure out if the list is meta or not sometime down the line. I've got like 1750 points though from doing this. So yeah.
Buy a Hell Cannon.
I've got one. It's a
missing.
It's a snail, a Nurgle snail with an ogre cannon on the back of it, and it hasn't hit yet. Just keeps missing.
It's because you haven't asked Papa Nurgle for his blessing.
Like, right now. I thought he'd blessed me.
Yeah, he's infecting me as we speak.
Papa Nurgle.
You need to like sneeze on it and and then rub that in a bit, and then you'll be good.
That sounds like first edition Age of Sigmar. If you've got a Nurgle army and you sneeze on your opponent, you get a re-roll of 1s.
Oh dear.
We both keep looking over at it, don't we? Going like, what's going on?
That's lovely.
Nice.
I definitely look forward to seeing that. It sounds like a really cool conversion, though. I suppose it's the advantage as well, actually. You have got the Age of Sigmar range to plunder, so there is things out there.
Oh, there's so many models. Like, yeah, as long as I'm willing to proxy a bit, I can build anything in the Chaos list. It's fine. Yeah, that's me.
Awesome. I'm sure Luke's okay with conversions and proxies anyway. So.
Oh yeah. Bring all the toys. Don't bother me. I like to see all the beauty of it. That's a part of the hobby, right? You know.
Fantastic. So Paul, over to you.
What was it? Was release? That was the question. What was release like? Yeah, release was great with Rob. I was quite organised, getting stuff. I had like multiple browsers open well in advance. I was like super prepped, so managed to get everything I wanted through different people and websites. I've even got the cards coming.
Oh wow!
As long as Liam sends them to me, because my mate Liam got them for me, because we were chatting and he got onto the website before me, so he was picking stuff up that I thought would run out, and one of those was the cards. And I was right because they weren't there when I got on behind him. So
£100 on eBay, aren't they?
Yeah. He sent a picture today on the Discord, being like, "The cards are arrived." I was like, immediately send them to me now. Like,
there's a story there that you might not be aware of. If you want it,
go on.
So, he can't send them to you until he's done the rest of my army.
Don't name people in your illegal.
I didn't say a name. You did.
Rob. Naughty. Well, I don't care. Well, I might intervene on this. I need those cards. They're hot property. The longer they sit with him, the more chance they'll sell them. So I managed to get the Bretonian box, the books, the cards, and then when me and Rob went up to Warhammer World, I had Grail Knights. I managed to run some Grail Knights. And then we went to Warhammer World. I bought like movement trays and stuff. So I've got like a reasonable Bretonian force that is kind of built around the models that are available. I've tried, similar to Tim really, I mean, I'm just going to paint stuff and play with it and see what's what. I don't think you can go too far wrong with Bretonians really. I imagine from reading the rules and having a look at them, just buy knights and a few peasants and charge things with knights, like, feels very Bretonian-esque. So yeah, I'm looking forward to painting this up and expanding the collection. I guess I'm in that position where I played 40k a lot over the past year and a half, and what I've liked about that is I can just get whatever I want when I want it. It's huge range. It's really easy to get models, well, on the most part. Whereas this, there are some like Bretonian bits that I kind of want, but I don't really know, like a trebuchet, like what, I don't know. It just feels a bit, the collecting element feels a bit clunkier, and I know that'll improve in time. And I think something we chatted about recently on the podcast, my podcast on the channel, is around like 3D printing, and I think it's a very interesting conversation in the old world scene versus the 40k scene, because you can make a strong argument that like if you want to play some lists at the moment in old world, you have no choice but to go outside the GW rate. Like how else would you reasonably be able to play and use those models? Tim, your army's looking great, and you can obviously get the AOS stuff. Yeah. But if I want like a trebuchet, where you know what I mean? How do I get that?
It is coming.
It is coming, yeah, but I think it's made people. Oh, my camera's just gone off.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, we're still hear you.
Yeah, I can still hear.
Sorry, yes. We'll come back.
While you sort yourselves out, yeah, I think that's quite an interesting point, and certainly there does seem to be a viewpoint, not one I necessarily agree with, but there's definitely a viewpoint out there that when you're buying armies for Old World, you have to buy Games Workshop figures, because if you don't, they'll pull the game. But as Paul says, you can't get the models because they're either out of stock or they don't exist.
Sounds
and
like
if you want
talking.
the actual models for an army that's not Britannia or Tomb King, even if you're just buying the models that they're currently selling, you know, what do you do? Go to a secondary selling site to get the official Games Workshop ones, and even then they're not going to get anything out of that because they've already sold the models to somebody else. It's somebody else selling them.
Yep.
So, yeah. I mean, on that point though, right, of the armies that are legal, so I'm going to go non-renegade, although I personally believe they're all the same thing, right? Dwarves, there are 4 units. They are sold out on every single site that you could want. Right, you can know that you can do Iron Breakers, Iron Drakes, Hammerers, Longbeards.
Yeah.
None of that at all. You got no other war machines. None of that. You can't get that. Wood Elves, potentially there's enough there to make the whole range if you use some of the high elf models. They're all sold out. They've been sold out for the last 18 months in Age of Sigmar. How are we getting them from the old world? High elves, you can get the dragons, you can get some of the rangers, but you can't get any of the unique specific stuff that isn't what they call the funny new elf. I can't remember what it's called. That's been sold out since AOS came out. So even then, I don't think there's the option for buying those GW products. How can I proxy them as well? It's not something that I can take. And I go back and find an eBay. I was looking for iron breakers. I can buy a squad of iron breakers in metal from eBay for 400 quid for 20 models.
Oh, that's expensive.
I'm not allowed to name the person, but I have spent.
Well, you already have.
Considerably less for about 5 times the number of points. So
it's insane.
I
You know.
think with 3D printing stuff, to be honest, if it's not just a like-for-like copy of a Games Workshop figure or someone else's figure, and they've put a bit of their own artistic touch into it and made it their own, it's their own model. Then it's it's no different to buying a Mantic dwarf or an Oathmark dwarf or anything like that. If it's someone else's creation, it's the same as buying a third-party model, really, and you're just paying less for a model that you like.
I feel like the design team for Old World would have been perfectly happy to just sell you a rule book, but GW are like, no, we have to sell a big profit on this.
There is actually a whole background that you might not be aware of here. GW is, like big corporations, they have multiple different companies, right? There's a Forge World side, which I found out basically is all of the box games, Forge World and the Old World. There is the 40k AOS side. They're 2 separate companies, and they haven't got the Old World models are lines that are not available in Age of Sigmar. The Age of Sigmar models represent all of the Renegade or Legacy armies, depending on how you want to call them. They own them, and they didn't want the Forge World side to be able to make rules or things that go official into their production books, etc., because it would affect their profit and loss. So that's the reason for it.
Yeah, interesting. Kind of makes sense in a weird sort of way, because I suppose if you sell a model for Old World and it's also an Age of Sigmar model, which balance sheet do you put that on? Which game is it that's actually supporting that sale? They'd never know. But it doesn't help us.
It's a bit daft from that makes sense commercially, but if you were to focus on what's best for people, the community,
I don't even think it makes sense commercially, because let's just print books, right? We're going to sell the books, you're going to sell the models, we'll both make some more money than we are now.
I think that as a community as well, we can just make the choice not to go to GW tournaments.
Well, yeah.
Just have better tournaments where you can have whatever models you like.
Amen.
Yeah, I think a lot of people will do that. Makes me think back actually when you were saying about that, Rob. Does anyone remember Warhammer Ancients as an offering? And that was literally, here's some books, because I did walk into, when I was a kid, my local Games Workshop shop, as they were called then, and said, "Oh, are you going to do any models for this?" I'm like, no, it's purely just rule books. They didn't even want to touch the historical market. That was actually quite a good game.
Never played it, but that's probably partly why they shot themselves in the foot, not properly kind of following through, supporting it.
Yeah, I think it was very much a passion project for Rick. I think it was Rick Priestley that wrote it, and a couple of the others, because they all came from historical backgrounds into Warhammer and stuff in the first place. So yeah, I think it was just them doing the kind of thing they wanted to do, and then sort of shuffling it into the slot somehow to get it published, rather than anything as a serious project.
So I'm just waiting for your next question, Michael.
No,
I was like, the question.
That's about it for really what we were discussing. So I mean, we're very much early days, and I think we're getting to the natural conclusion of winding down now. So, yeah. So it sounds like we've had a bit of a mixed bag of experiences for launch, but we're now up and running and starting to get stuff built. Hopefully by the end of February we'll get another call booked in, and hopefully by then we'll be able to talk about stuff we've actually painted, and hope maybe even been able to get a few games under our belts with the actual armies. The game I played against Paul, I was using my dwarves, which I'd done as my pre-Old World launch project. So I've desperately got to get stuff stuck in together now to be able to get them on the tabletop, because they're going to play so differently to Empire. It's untrue. So yeah, we'll see how it goes with that. But yeah, once again, lads, thank you very much for taking the time out of your evening. And there we have it, the first catch-up session for this Tale of Many Gamers. Sadly, one person down, but we have a lot to cover in the months ahead. If you want to join us on this journey, then do consider subscribing to the channel. It is the easiest way of both supporting the channel and keeping abreast of new videos. All that remains for me to say is thank you very much for listening. Appreciate it. It's slightly longer than the usual format. I am returned to the old world. Have a great day.